Okay, so the next videos not videos, but the next problems I'm going to do are number 9, which is a factoring problem, and it is a trinomial, and then number 12, which is a completing the square, hence the CTS at the top. I abbreviated it. So with number 9, starting out for factoring. With factoring, just like the last video, we have to be set equal to 0, and we have to check for a greatest common factor. So in order to set this equal to 0, I'm going to subtract both sides by a negative 7, okay? That leaves me with 3. Ooh, that doesn't look like a 3. Hold on. Sorry guys, it's kind of hard to draw on this, so bear with me when some of them don't look how they're supposed to look. And you will hear my dogs playing yet again during this video. I am sorry. So that leaves me with 3x squared minus 42x plus 144, and now I'm equal to 0. 151 minus 7 is 144. I'm going to have to check for a greatest common factor. There is one, and it is 3. When I take a 3 out, I'm left with x squared minus 14x, and then plus 48 is equal to 0. So, I need to factor this new trinomial that I made. In order to factor a trinomial, we've got to do our area model. At the top, I'm going to do a times c, which is 1 times 48, which will give me 48. The bottom will be negative 14. Alright, so I've got to think what multiplies to give me negative, or 48, and adds to give me negative 14. It is going to have to be negative 6 and negative 8. So I would go and pack my box so I can unpack it and find the factors. So up here I would put the x squared that I got from right here. This first term goes here. Alright, and then this 48 will come down here, and it will leave me with, let me change my pen back, two boxes that I have to fill. And the reason that we do the x to find those two special numbers is so I can fill them into this box right here. Negative 6x and negative 8x. I'm going to take the greatest common factor of each row and each column. So if I start with the first column over here, the greatest common factor between x squared and negative 8x is just going to be an x. Between negative 6x and 48 is going to be negative 6. So one of my factors is x minus 6. Over here, I'm going to have x, negative 8. So in total, my factors, not forgetting my greatest common factor, is going to be 3 times x minus 8 times x minus 6. So if I asked you for the factors, you would stop here. But if I ask you to solve, remember we can divide out the 3 from both sides, because that greatest common factor doesn't have an x, so it's not part of my solution. And I would set x minus 8 equals to 0 and x minus 6 equal to 0 and solve for x. Adding 8 to both sides would give you x is equal to 8, and adding 6 to both sides would give you x is equal to a positive 6. So those are my two factors. Now, number 12 is going to be a completing the square problem. And remember, you're going to find that on page 9 in your packet. You've got to find those steps. If you look at page 9, your first step is to move your constant. And the constant that I want to move is 10. Because I'm going to come up with a new number that's going to give me some perfect square trinomial, okay? So, what I'm going to be left with is x squared minus 12x I'm going to leave a space where that 10 was because I'm going to put something else there. And that's going to equal 17, okay? So, in order to find what I add here, you've got to do your special kind of trick. You've got to do your b divided by 2 squared. And in this case, my b is negative 12. So I'm going to do negative 12 divided by 2 squared, which is going to be negative 6 squared. And remember, be careful, these are negatives. A negative 6 times a negative 6 would give me a positive 36. So that means I am adding 36. That's my completing my square. And if I add it to one side, I have to add it to the other side as well. So then on the right side, I'm going to do 17 plus 36, which is going to give me 53. Now you can factor the trinomial on the left side, but it's going to give me two of the exact same factors. That's why we square it. It is going to be x plus or minus some kind of something. Okay, sorry, I had to leave off where my dog started barking because Miss Smith came in. So, now, where I was, this was a binomial squared, so I can find this term right here, or the factors that will be multiplied by each other, by doing whatever your b divided by 2 is. And this works every single time that you can find it that way. So, my b divided by 2 for this one is negative 6. So the factor will be x minus 6 times x minus 6, also known as x minus 6 squared. So if you factored this trinomial right here on the side, you should get x minus 6 times x minus 6. Now to finish up and to solve for x, you are going to take the square root of both sides. So this side and this side, we're talking about equations. What I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. And that's going to leave you with, over here, x minus 6 and the square root of 53. Now, the square root of 53 is not a perfect square. It is also a prime number. So there's nothing that breaks down into 53 that could simplify it. So you're just going to be left with the plus or minus square root of 53 because we've got to come up with our two solutions. Oh my gosh, my dogs. Sorry guys. Alright, and then the last step would be add 6 on both sides. X is equal to 6 plus or minus root 53. And you cannot simplify that any further. That would be your answer. In the next video, I am going to do a solve by taking the square root and quadratic formula.